What's going on, everyone? Your friendly neighborhood fanboys are back.
We are.
This time we're doing a new series, Filoni Mignon.
Filoni Mignon.
Yeah. This is going to be a weekly dive into Ahsoka episodes, premiering every Wednesday, so a day after the episodes premiere, because they're on Tuesdays now. And we're just basically going to be diving into everything about the episode, and then our resident Star Wars expert and Thrawn expert Reese is going to be giving us some, potential insight on how the story might progress. He's a big Legends guy, so
I'll read all the books right now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed this episode, which is going to cover the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, hit that like button. Really does help us out. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these little episodes and all the other stuff that we have to offer.
Oh man,
Lead the way, Alex.
where do we even start with this?
I'm happy.
Yeah,
That's all I can say.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm
Are you happy,
I'm happy.
Gilmore?
It's nice to
Yes.
be happy about Star Wars.
It
It's
really is.
really-
It's
yeah.
been a long time.
Yeah,
Other than
100%.
Rogue One, of course.
And
'cause-
Ender.
Well,
And
for sure.
Ender,
And
yeah.
Ender,
Okay, so it hasn't
yeah.
been that long.
I would say the biggest thing, like just right off the bat, I think what we should do, because the episodes, just released simultaneously, 1 and 2 together, I think we should kind of go around the table, just kind of quick first impressions, what you guys thought of the shows versus the previous Star Wars shows.
Yeah.
The one thing I am going to say right off the bat is like, I was really taken back because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm watching Star Wars property.
Yeah.
Like, it
What a
feels
weird,
like,
weird
it feels
concept.
like Star Wars.
It doesn't
to
feel
me.
like fan fiction.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I personally loved it. I didn't watch basically any of Rebels whatsoever. Like, I've seen clips here and there, and like I've watched like Thrawn supercuts because like obviously I wanted to get to know that character before watching this. Yeah, I thought like it reminded me of the original trilogy, but then like it also just like in like the building designs and like some of the planets we've seen, like it looks like it's torn straight out of Rebels, like in a great way.
Yeah.
And we're not on Tatooine.
And we're not on
Yeah.
That's a big
Tatooine, so
positive.
automatic plus.
That's always fun.
Yeah, like I just like I love the tonality of it, and I love like those little callbacks, like 2 actual Rebel shots, like that whole sequence with Sabine is like literally like duplicated from Rebels.
Right.
The
She
mural
walks up
is
to the
the art
mural.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, it's good to be back. It felt like it's like you said. I'm sure we're gonna say it 100 times, but it felt like old Star Wars, and again a lot of mirrors to Phantom Menace too.
Yeah.
Master and Apprentice. Like, and I really like. I was drawn into the 2. I guess we'll call them gray Jedi or like rogue Jedi characters because they're not Sith, but they're not Jedi. They're kind of like right in the middle. That's why they have like an orange saber. Anyways, I was really drawn into that side of the story. It was really nice just to see like the mystical side of Star Wars again, like with the Jedi and.
Nice to see a lightsaber fight again.
Yeah,
too.
it was nice to see a lightsaber fight
And
again.
a lightsaber fight
didn't
that's
have, like,
well done as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They didn't have
With a
70
wide
cuts
shot.
shot at like
Yeah.
120
Yeah.
mil.
It felt
F1.
really really nice to be back, and I really just like the tonality of this show, kind of like hopping off the shoulders of Andor. It was
100%.
like it still had that kind of little bit of whimsicalness, but still like a little bit more of a darker tone, which I appreciated. It's what I want to see from Star Wars. Again, first 2 episodes still have lots to see, but I was really happy. I mean, I didn't have a lot of high hopes just because every time I get excited for Star Wars, it lets me down. So I was just kind of going in. We get what we get, and I'm happy.
For sure.
I'm really happy with what we got.
Totally. Go for it.
I'm gonna go first,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna let you have the floor after this. Building off what you guys said, a couple things that stood out to me. Cinematography, I thought was absolutely phenomenal, as well as like just a set design for everything, just like you guys were saying.
That was beautiful.
It feels like it feels like episodes 1 to 6. It totally feels like it fits in that world. I love like the droid design, like all the droid design is like really like clean and like.
Well, we were saying we were debating is that practical or not, which I think is
Hard
an
to tell.
amazing thing.
Yeah, I looked that up. They're half and half. So like the cat
So we
as
guessed
well
it.
is half and half. Yeah. So like the
Interesting.
face and the
Wow.
close-ups is practical, but then they CG the rest of the body
That's
basically.
sick.
Interesting.
The fact that
And
we
then
were
same thing with the
debating
droids.
means they did a great job, though.
Yeah,
Like,
amazing.
sorry to
Everything
cut
is
you off.
very like I just like in terms of like the actual design of all the worlds really, and like just the way like shots are composed, blocking, everything is very kind of like almost streamlined, but in a very nice like just clean way.
Yeah.
That was great. I thought pacing overall was great. Ahsoka's
Love the
intro in the first episode where she's Indiana Jones style getting
I wanna
the
talk
map there
about
was
that.
absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. All the performances I thought were great across the board. Rest in peace to Ray Stevenson as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Absolutely crushed it.
Absolute
He's killing
sheen.
it. He's
Like,
killing it.
he's like amazing in the role, and it's so sad his untimely passing there. So respect to him, and respect to everyone else. Thought dialogue was great for the most part. Like plot moved, very well for me, I thought. The other thing I just want to quickly throw out there is the score feels like,
just about
first
to
of all,
say
it's
that.
phenomenal,
Yeah.
but it feels like John Williams almost. And I think that's part of the reason why we get some of the magic back.
Yeah.
Is it just
Completely agree
Like
with that.
it's John Williams, like the whimsical.
that's, yeah,
With
like
a little bit of
top end,
underlying
but
Ludwig.
then
Hans
there's
Zimmer.
like a little bit of like Hansy,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
low brass, and you're like, whoa,
It's
like this is
phenomenal.
nice.
It's
when we were
absolutely-
watching, I was like, "Is this like Blade Runner and Star Wars put together?" Oh, two favorite properties.
So it's
Awesome.
actually it's the guy who did Clone Wars. That's why.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
the guy who
incredible.
did like our favorite new
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Alan something? Is it Alan? I can't remember the name of the composer. Let us know in the
yeah.
comments.
We should
But
have
he's
fact-checked
the
this.
one where it like that scene
Yeah.
at
With
the end with
Ahsoka
the
picking up
yeah,
the lightsaber.
Yep.
Yeah.
perfect, makes sense.
So
Awesome.
yeah, like other than that, like that is pretty much everything that really kind of stood out to me, just general. But for everyone listening, Reese is the resident Star Wars expert here.
Not
among
really.
us.
Not really.
Yeah, not really.
I don't know if that's in frame.
You
or
gotta
not.
you show the shoulder too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nah,
For
not,
anyone-
not really.
For anyone listening audio only, Reese has a couple of characters that are embedded into his skin.
Yeah.
So I want to pass it off to you. What did you think, buddy?
I mean, you guys said most of everything that I love. Like the score felt like Star Wars. Even like some shots of the ships like flying through space almost felt like models, but in like a
Yeah.
better way.
Yeah.
Like I when we were watching it, we were even all saying like, it's like, oh my god, this actually feels like the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, it's amazing. Plot was good. Pacing was good. I know it was slower, but I actually like that. The fact that they actually like let everything play out. The
Yep.
Let
characters.
it breathe, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like all that stuff was amazing. And again, you guys said most of it, but just nice to see lightsabers back on screen. Another thing that I noticed as well was the lightsaber colors were a little bit dyed down. So it wasn't like Kenobi where it was just all like
Yeah, they weren't like super blown out. Like,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of
Yeah,
bloom
yeah.
on it, but like it's like you can tell they're practical. You
They're
get
still
the light
practical,
on,
it's just
but it's just like they toned it down.
yeah.
It's almost like whatever it was on set, like they just didn't pump it up at all.
Yeah.
Like it was just like that glow and that's it,
Yep.
which is great.
100%.
I also love the that we got a little bit of a crawl, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was
New-
cool.
new
yeah,
crawl,
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I really appreciated that because it's just like we haven't seen a crawl since the new trilogy, basically. So, and just the way like this was Dave Filoni stepping up and being like, okay, I'm back
Bringing
in
it
the chair,
back.
baby.
Yeah,
Here we
yeah,
come. Like, you know,
Yep.
this is my. Thing.
I also love the fact that they weren't scared to call back to Anakin and they're talking about Thrawn too, and they're really building him up to be like this big guy. Like the fact that both sides are fighting to get to Thrawn first shows like how powerful he is. He's like that Thanos, the Emperor. Like he's that big of a threat that both sides have to get to him. So and obviously I love Thrawn. So it was nice. It was nice.
I think that's a perfect segue into talking. Like all technical aspects aside, we can sit here and talk about why these two episodes are good technically. But I mean, in terms of what they're setting up for the universe, you gotta be excited right now for everything.
So
eh?
pumped. I was nervous.
Because you're pretty familiar with Thrawn.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely haven't read the books multiple times or anything like that.
not at
But
I think
Yeah.
we should use what you were just saying as a segue. How do you think, from like all the lore that you're familiar with, how do you think Thrawn was being alluded to in the episode, and how do you think he's going to be integrated in going forward? Like, do you have any thoughts on that right now?
I do. I'm not sure if it's going to pay off. However, Thrawn is essentially from the outer regions, so he's not from the same galaxy as everything we know in Star Wars. That's why he came into this galaxy, because he was fighting a bigger threat outside of the galaxy we know as Star Wars. It was threatening his world, so he came to this galaxy to be like, who can help us? And that's why he joined the Empire, because at the time he came over, the Empire was the most powerful. So he's like, I need to ally myself with somebody that can actually help. So that's why he's here to begin with.
Yeah.
So now that he's back out there, we don't know if he's back like to his home or the unknown regions, wherever this new galaxy is, but I'm thinking he's probably trying to do the same thing, because he's not technically an evil character. He just gets it done.
Right.
So
And the way Rebels left off was Ezra, obviously. Like, they left it kind of on a cliffhanger, right?
Yes.
Like, so that's why both good and bad are looking for them, because, like, one is looking for Ezra, which ultimately leads to Thrawn.
yeah,
And the guy, obviously, the bad guys want Thrawn to
yeah,
come back.
because he's a
step in
genius
as-
and the best ever. But
Because where we're at right now is that, like, the Empire is in shambles right now. So basically, they're looking for a new leader, and Thrawn is kind of like that.
to
new
unify
hope.
them.
Yeah.
Because technically in Legends, that's what happens. Like in Legends, Thrawn is actually at the Battle of Endor watching from a Star Destroyer, and he like watches it all happen. happen, and basically he takes the remnants of the Empire and like unites them, and is like, hey, we got this,
Oh.
which is pretty cool. I think
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Emperor's so cocky that he's like, nah, we don't need you. You just like sit out there. And Thrawn's like, no problem. I would have won this battle for you.
He's
but
a tactician, and he
yeah.
capitalizes on the fall of
Yeah.
the Empire, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but
Interesting.
I've seen a lot of different things going around. But it would be cool to tie in the canon right now. So there's this species called the Grisk that are basically. So when you go back to Legends 2, like the Rakatan Empire was basically the same thing. Basically what that species does is they take over worlds and like prey on their fears and all this stuff. And that's what the new canon, like Grisk species is doing. And Thrawn was fighting that before he came to this galaxy. So I'm wondering if they're going to tie that in. And now we've seen a little bit too with the like the Night Sister magic, like calling out
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
I forget her name,
Morgan
Elsbeth. Yeah.
I think it's so
Elizabeth,
cool that we're seeing like a live
Yeah.
action.
Well, especially
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
Dan here is a huge fan of the
big fan
Fallen
of the
Order.
Fallen
Yep.
Order games.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
So I got that, and I got instantly excited because I'm like, that means that there's a potential tie-in with Mare in there. And then
Yeah.
also, speaking of Fallen Order, I just wanted to say, like, that first temple scene felt so much
Like
like a
Fallen Order.
Zepho
Yeah.
mission in
Yeah.
Fallen Order, and I got so excited because, like, at first I thought those murals were of the Zepho because the orb she gets is the same kind of design.
same thing. You're
Right.
moving around in
Yeah,
those
exactly.
games. Yeah.
And like that Zepho temple. So I'm like, maybe that could be a way they tie it in, and that could be a way they tie in Cal, you know.
I
And
mean,
then
that'd be
Marin
sick,
is
yeah.
a remaining Night Sister. So
You got so excited when we saw the BD droid, or
Oh my-
not BD itself, but
yeah,
yeah.
the BD
Yeah.
unit in fucking
Yeah.
what was it, Boba Fett that he was in, or was he in Mando? I think they whatever.
one or
It
the
was
other,
one
yeah,
of
yeah.
those
Yeah, it's
shows
basically the
to
same, you know.
Yeah. All
Um,
blends together.
How do you think we're going to go forward after they eventually or inevitably recover him? Because, like, clearly we've seen, like, from a trailer shot that he's in that same...
Ship that they're using to travel,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, like, he is going to be back at one point. Like, how do you think they're going to handle that going forward? Because, like, you know, he's supposed to be this master tactician, like, from, like, all the legend stuff that you've told us, like, throughout the years, like, this guy should not go down easily. So, like, how do
I
you
really
think
hope
it'll
he doesn't.
happen? Yeah, or, like, is there a storyline maybe from Legends that you would like to see kind of play out after they kind of, like, get him back?
Great question. And basically what happens in Legends is he finds kind of turned Jedi to use him as like a counter to Luke in that time. Because technically right now, like, Luke's alive.
Well, he's active, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So
he's active in training.
yeah.
There is a possibility he could show up in the show because we saw that him and Ahsoka interacted in Mando. So
Yeah.
that there is a possibility. I hope they don't go that route, but he could.
Yeah.
potentially.
I
But
also kind of do.
Again, like the whole thing with Thrawn is like he's not trying to be like Empire, like he's not trying to be pro Empire. He's just like there's a bigger threat than everything going on. So I'm wondering if they're gonna play on that. Like this is the canon right now. Like so he's just trying to make sure his world doesn't get destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
So because the Chiss are these like stubborn people who are like, you know, amazing, they do what they do, but they're like, I don't know if this is a big threat. And Thrawn's like, I know this is a threat. So that's why he's with the Empire, because he's like they have, you know, the war, like all the warriors and the ships, all that stuff, right?
Right.
So I'm wondering if he's gonna alter that and be like, hey, let's unite against this new thing, or if he's just gonna be like, hey, we got to destroy the rebels to like continue on.
I'd love to see him operate kind of like, again, I don't know a whole lot about Thrawn, but like from the description and everything I've heard, I'd love to see him operate kind of like Netflix Daredevil Kingpin, just like operating from the shadows, just like pulling the strings. We don't really see him, and he's like just the
Yeah.
overarching like big bad.
That's usually what he does, though.
yeah.
So
So,
it's
and
like
then like
he's just like 10 steps ahead of everybody,
Exactly.
right? So
But
he
then
should
that
be like the
begs
Thanos of
Right.
this
Yeah.
universe. Like,
But then that begs the question of what are his motivations going to be in this storyline we're
sure.
watching.
And
right
that's why I'm
now,
hoping
right?
Dave Filoni is like a big fan of all that stuff, so he'll actually
Yeah.
stay true. Like, I just don't want him to be portrayed as like evil.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's not.
More
He's just like, hey, I
complicated.
got to get this done, and you're in my way.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Well, didn't they say they were basing this more or less off of Heir to the Empire, like that source
Yeah.
material? I know you're familiar with
Yeah.
that. I don't know how.
which is fine. It's
Yeah.
just
Well, like, I mean, right now, at least, from the way I interpreted that initial scene with the two, again, like, I don't know what to call them. They're not Jedi, obviously, but, like,
We'll say
Yeah.
Grey Jedi. for lack of a-
Mercenaries.
Yeah,
the two
Sure.
the two mercenaries that wield sabers. When they show up at the beginning, like, I feel like there was that little piece of, like, okay, if they were just actually let through, they wouldn't even have taken anyone out. They just would have
Yeah.
grabbed the
Yeah.
package,
Yeah.
and
And
left.
got
Well,
out.
he
Yeah.
literally had
Like-
that one line at the end when they're like, "Oh, go kill Ahsoka." He's like, "Oh, it's a shame."
That'd be a
She's
shame,
an
yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
jet
So like
wielder."
I
Which
don't.
I love that though.
Yeah, no,
it's more
100%.
a complex
It's like
character.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
the only reason why they murdered everyone to go get the prisoner
Because
was
they were stopping him.
well, yeah, they were like,
And they were
well,
cocky assholes
I don't
too.
I don't
Yeah.
trust you, or whatever the line was,
Yeah,
and I forget the character's name, but Ray Stevenson says like, you're making a big
Skull.
mistake.
Yeah. Balin Skull.
Balin,
Balin,
yeah.
okay,
Skull,
yeah. So yeah, like that right there to me is like, it gives me hope that they won't just go full villain
Yeah.
with
Me too.
Thrawn, because like
too.
if these people who are trying
Yeah.
to get to him
Mhm.
aren't being destructive and like villainous, going through people like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
nothing, then
We're
There's some
already
hope.
kind of seeing in these first 2 episodes that these gray Jedi, or not Jedi, I don't know what you call
Rogue
them.
Jedi. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Rogue
One's a
Jedi.
rogue Jedi.
We're
one's
seeing
a
them that
Sith.
they're not like totally evil,
Yeah.
but we're like
They're
they
trying
are
to survive.
they are doing bad
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, you definitely get the sense that okay, they're just trying to do what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do is not necessarily, at least right now, not necessarily going and killing absolute everything under the sun like the Emperor was trying to do, right? Like they're trying to get to Thrawn for a certain reason.
Mhm.
I also
Um,
really love what we've been seeing with like the last 2 entries in Star Wars, so Andor and this show. We're kind of seeing like everything's not so like black and white, good and evil. Like we're kind of
Yes,
seeing like
which is
how
amazing.
like the rebels who are
Yeah.
supposed to be the good guys also have like their ulterior
Yeah.
motives too.
Yeah,
like,
for
and
sure.
they're like,
Totally.
you know, we're seeing, you know, the real life politics of Star Wars, which is.
But that's literally like A New Hope. Like
Yeah.
Han's like a good guy,
Yeah.
but he straight up shot a guy in cold blood,
Exactly.
and it's like you said, man, it's black and white. Like even Vader, or sorry, like gray, like in the middle. It's like even Vader, like kind of
the
struggling
Wild
as
West
well.
of space.
Yeah.
One thing
Literally.
that stood out to me, one sequence that really stood out to me in the second episode was when Ahsoka goes to Corellia,
Yeah.
and is like trying to figure out what's going on in the factories over there,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
you literally had these like Empire like fanatics
Yeah, long live
that
the
are like
Empire.
that have like
They
infiltrated them,
die
and I'm like.
instantly.
That's
the
such a
funniest thing ever.
yeah, yeah. Ahsoka just tears them up in
Yeah.
2
The
seconds.
Empire.
I'd love to.
But it's interesting to see the political landscape. Sorry to cut you off, but
No,
it's
no, you're
interesting
good.
to see kind of like where the rest of the galaxy is in the fall of the Empire, and I think even that one scene did a better job of demonstrating that kind of political unrest and the remnants of that
Yeah.
better than the sequel trilogy was able
Yeah.
to do in
Yeah.
3 fucking movies,
Yeah.
100%.
right?
Literally.
So yeah,
Just talking about that second episode too, and who we're kind of seeing as this Inquisitor character who she fights at the end there. I saw one little. It's very unlikely, but just because we're going into kind of Legends canon, the selfish part of me would love to see, because the guy's name or whoever the Inquisitor's name is Merrick, and Starkiller's name is Galen Merrick as well. So like that would be
Ooh.
really
I didn't
really
even
cool.
think of
Wow.
that.
If we see
Damn.
Sam Witwer under that helmet,
That's
it's
interesting.
very unlikely because
It
That'd
would
be
be
wild.
cool to like touch on it. Obviously, it just can't be the same one because
Yeah,
that guy's
yeah.
so overpowered. He would
He
destroy,
would destroy Ahsoka
anybody.
in
Yeah,
3 milliseconds,
yeah, it'd be
literally.
game over. Yeah,
Like,
John's yeah, yeah. That is pretty cool
like a
though.
canon version.
Yeah.
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 Because they call him the last Inquisitor too.
Yeah,
So
that would be
that'd be
really
that'd be kind of
cool.
sick.
At first, I
actually.
thought it was
especially because we
Ezra.
saw his armor in
Yeah.
Andor too.
yeah.
Like, Yeah.
I do have to say
and it's
this
kind of
show-
similar. Like the,
That would be unreal.
Wow.
I would actually. That would be my
Yeah.
Thrawn appearance. I'd be like, ah.
Yeah.
if I saw
I do have to say this show does such a great job of building off of the lore of
Mm-hmm.
the original, like I'm gonna say 2 trilogies.
it's like Zack Snyder level of world building.
Yeah, like I mean, like it's just great. Even though I'm not as familiar with like a lot of like the Rebel stuff and the other properties and the canon, it's interesting to see how they're bringing everything in and expanding on the lore of Star Wars.
Totally.
Like when they mention when they're mentioning the first episode with the Witches of Dathomir,
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
like, that is so cool to have
Yeah.
reference to.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
I don't know if you know. I don't know anything
I do.
really about the background
That's
of
where
it, but
Maul
just
came from.
I know. Well, I know that, but
And
like,
the
in terms of the
mirroring,
witches,
too.
I don't know.
If you play
Like-
Fallen Order, you'll
You get a
you'll
good-
know.
But if
Oh,
you also
go to
watch like
Dathomir.
Clone Wars too, like Dooku and Palpatine basically see them as such a threat because they're so powerful. Because basically Palpatine takes Maul from Mother Talzin, who's like the leader
Yeah.
of the Night Sisters, and basically fucks her over. So then she's like amassing an army, and then they send Grievous and a bunch of droids to just like slaughter them. They just like eradicate them
Yeah.
It's crazy.
because Palpatine's all about like power and all that
Yeah,
stuff. So
of
it's like
course.
yeah, which is pretty crazy.
It's cool. Like,
and then
it's just
you actually
great.
see Grievous do something like he was supposed to do. Oh,
Mhm.
awesome, great.
Oh, good.
So just-
Again, in that mirroring Master and Apprentice, like the mirroring the Maul.
The Mirror Master?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the Mirror Master. But yeah, no, there's lots of parallels, and Big Dave Filoni makes me really excited when I see that.
I have one more question. So, from what I understand, Ahsoka like actually dies by the hand of Vader at some point in Rebels, right? And there's this like,
No.
this is just what I've like watched or like seen. Isn't there like some place outside of space time where like Ezra goes back to that fight and pulls her in, and that's why she's alive?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so
wild.
like, yeah, but so there's again, I don't remember. You did your due diligence and actually wrote things down, but like I'm just going off based off memory. There's a line in there that implies that this place where Thrawn is right now is outside of space time. So do you think it could be that place, and like to him like no time has passed, or like I don't know how?
But that's
that
just another
realm
galaxy,
Maybe.
though, isn't it?
I think that would be something though that would be introduced, because this has never really been in the other canon. Like Dave Filoni introduced that in Clone Wars and Rebels, so that's never really been like an established canon. Though I did see an interview where he was kind of like, oh, like, you know, that was like a one-time thing, and it's like you still used it. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is like,
I think
whatever.
I did see that little excerpt too, and he was kind of implying that it wasn't time travel, but like
It was, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, but you still saved her. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting.
Anyways. So I don't know. I can't personally speak on it, and I don't want to say anything because I actually like don't know. I thought it was like a cool concept, but also it was like a
Never wanna see it
kind of
again.
cop out. Yeah, exactly. It's like I feel like Star Wars was like pretty grounded for the most part, but then you start introducing that stuff, and it's like, and I say pretty grounded, like, oh yeah, the Force, but it's like that's like
no, but it's literally like, you know, Westerns in space, because like like nothing is like pristine. You never see anything that's pristine.
Yeah.
Going through even like aesthetically when it comes to like Rebels, everything's like dirty and fucking
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like
Decrepit,
a mess,
yeah.
decrepit. Like shit doesn't work half the time. The Empire, on the other hand, is like that stark contrast of like
clean
new
cut.
equipment, clean,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, so you know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to ask you about as well, how did you find the relationship between Ahsoka and Sabine was like handled in these first two episodes? Because I know, I would imagine Rebels, Sabine was a lot younger, because in the second episode Sabine makes reference to, I haven't spoken to Ahsoka in a long time, all that stuff. So coming from that show, how do you think they made that transition to this live action Sabine?
I think it makes a lot of sense.
I thought it was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Not knowing the history, I thought it was an interesting dynamic of a Padawan that
Yeah,
Ahsoka
I think it is
gave
for
up
me.
on and is taking it back on.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. I think just for me, it was like, this is like not even a gripe, but I'm just being like, I think they just spent too much time on it. It's like, has already happened. Like, it's like, hey, let's reconnect, let's be mature. But I guess they're trying to show that there is a struggle.
Yeah, there's a tension between
Yeah,
them.
which is like fine. But I thought they handled the reunion well, because there was like a lot of tension with them before.
Yeah.
So it does make sense.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. For me, it's just like when you open up a new show like this, it's like I don't want to spend a lot of time on like what happened in.
I'm
Yeah,
guessing
like
there's
that
going to
just-
be like this big cathartic moment where like,
Yeah.
she comes in.
Well, even at the end of episode 2, it's like
I
Padawan.
was just
Oh,
about to say
sick.
that, actually. Yeah,
It's
like,
like great.
that was
Let's
a great
never
moment.
talk. Let's never talk about it again. Let's move on.
I
And
was
like,
gonna say, like, I'm glad I saw that, because again, we don't watch Rebels if we
Yeah.
haven't said that enough. But like,
Mhm.
you've done that, you've established that, move on. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to like see
Totally.
more of that
Right.
until you know
Yeah,
it has to
100%.
come up again.
100%.
I think at this point I'm very interested on all of the like the mythological shit that is going on with these gray Jedi and all the Thrawn stuff, and like I'm more excited right now. Is like, yeah, the character elements are cool, but I want the next episode. I would really love like the plot to like really start moving forward. You know what I
Same.
mean? Because like
They did a good job establishing stuff. But now it's
100%,
time to like, because
100%.
remember a couple times in Andor we were like, there's like a full episode of just like still establishing like the
Yeah.
heist, and it's like, holy fuck, like
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Like it was a great
Yeah.
show, but it was like, okay,
I'd really like, and that's my biggest gripe with I think just Disney Plus TV shows in general, is that like they have a really bad tendency to stray away from the main storyline and
they
they
get
become
sidetracked.
unfocused, and
Mhm.
they're like, we have 10 episodes when something
Especially
should
in
be like 3
Mando
episodes.
and
Yeah.
Boba
Right,
Fett.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
really, if they can keep it as focused as these first 2 episodes for the remainder of the show, it could be the best outing
Yeah.
Star
Yeah.
Wars and Disney Plus shows have had. So I want to see it remain focused. It needs to be tight.
this is all I'm gonna say. I just want to see Thrawn like lose his cool and just show how powerful he can be. Like he's trying to be reasonable at first,
Yeah.
and then he just like annihilates somebody. Because like in the books, he always tries to like do it diplomatically and like do all the shit, and then like when the hammer drops, it's like game over. Like I just want to see that. Just want that.
And you
like,
need
just let
and
the
you
bad
need
guy
that.
win for once.
Yeah, you definitely
like Empire was the best movie.
Exactly.
You know
Yeah.
why? The bad guy won.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
We
And
talked about this.
100%, and that's what you need. Like I want to see that too, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what you need to make a captivating villain. Like you need to be afraid of what the villain is going
Yes.
to do next.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
100%.
if the rumors are true, then like he is going to be that main villain, so to speak, for that Dave Filoni directed feature film featuring all of these characters from
Amazing.
all the Disney Plus shows.
Amazing.
The Avengers for modern
Yeah.
Star Wars, basically.
Incredible.
Is what
Which
I'm in.
that would be cool.
I'm
Just
so
again,
in.
like for me, I just want to see the plot just keep being focused, and I just want to go full steam ahead right now, and I just want it to be. I want it to pick up the pace a little bit, like in terms of
Yeah.
overall. You know what I mean? Overall stuff, like all the Ahsoka scenes, like the way her scenes in particular are paced out, I love. Like
Yeah.
awesome, and obviously, you know. You don't have to say it, but Rosario Dawson is
Incredible.
like perfectly
Yeah.
cast in her.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she's,
Right,
she's
Grace?
the character. But no, it's great overall.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been episode 1 of Filoni Mignon. We will see you guys next week for episode 3. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know down below what you guys thought of Ahsoka's first 2 episodes.
May the force be with you.
Episode 2 for us, episode 3 for the show.
Yeah.
See you.